Well, good morning everyone, and thank you for joining us on your Sunday morning. I trust you've had a good morning so far, and certainly, very thankful for you joining us here. Hopefully by now you would have received one of these in the post. For the video, I'm still running on a printout from home with all my notes in it. But yeah, hopefully you can follow along, have it in front of you, and jot down some notes as we're talking through the bulls. The whole concept around the Sire Directory rundown is really just about going through the entire Sire Directory from cover to cover and really putting out hopefully a bit of extra information, maybe some new videos, talking through some of the new bulls, and hopefully allowing you to make a more informed decision so you can hopefully be that bit more profitable that long term. If you still don't happen to have one of these books, this QR code will punch you through to the online version, so at least you can have it on your phone and have it in front of you as we're going through it. Additionally, we're going to be obviously talking a lot about the breeding values and data points of these bulls as well. I get a lot of questions about EBVs or estimated breeding values all the time, and I encourage you to head through to this QR code, this link here, and that'll take you through to Angus Australia's resources about estimated breeding values. It is a really good, strong resource there. It has a lot of information and hopefully will clear a lot of the questions you might have. In terms of understanding what value you probably need to look at for your Pacific program, I sort of like to tackle them on a case-by-case basis, as everyone is that little bit different, and understanding what you actually need and maybe what you desire can sometimes be a little bit different. Now, also with the influence of American bulls in the catalogue, there are American EPDs on the catalogue, especially some of the newer bulls that we just don't quite have genomic data here just yet on. So, to make things easier and try not to create any confusion, I'm only ever going to talk about the percentiles on the American data, not the actual EPDs and the direct data points themselves, just to try and create a bit less confusion. However, I want to make it abundantly clear that you cannot compare the percentiles between the two countries, as they are two very different populations. Hence meaning you cannot compare top 10% with top 10% over here. So just because they're top 10% in America doesn't mean that they'll come out here as top 10%. Yes, just because they're high growth in America generally means we will then see high growth here. But I want to make it known that, you can't compare those, but we will make it clear as we go through each bulls kind of where those bulls fit the marketplace and what they're going to be able to do for you. So, we may as well get into it, rip into it, grab your tea, coffee, and enjoy your Sunday. Thanks so much for catching up with us, and hope you enjoy the video. The first bull in the catalogue that we're going to look at is Millars Duke 816. Duke came to my attention when I saw him at SAV back in June, about 8 months ago. Duke really grabbed my attention then, and my ears definitely pricked up when Kelly Schaff buys a bull. My ears certainly pricked up, and you have to start wondering, well, why did SAV buy this bull as a mature bull outside of their program? And you can definitely see why when we go through everything that Duke brings to the table. For me, Duke is a really phenotypic standout. There's a lot of length, muscle shape and overall performance in this bull that I think is really exciting. But realistically, it's probably his low birth to growth spread that I think is most exciting about Duke. So when we look at his calving ease, he's a top 4% on calving ease, top 3% on birth weight, yet then a top 1% for weaning weight, and top 3% for yearling weight. Now, that all sounds very good, but it's not until you have progeny coming in on the bull to really validate how that's going and gets a bit of accuracy around these numbers. Well, Duke now has over 200 birth weights recorded and 100 yearling progeny recorded. So we've measured them at birth, we've measured them at yearling, and that data's still holding up at that top 3% birth weight, top 3% yearling weight. Low birth, high growth. And the fact that it's actually been proven out, I haven't seen a bull come out of the US yet that has this level of growth spread with then this number of progeny being recorded, I think is really exciting. We can have some confidence around this bull being a curve bender. He also brings really outcross pedigree to the table, and that was pretty important to find a bull like this that had some outcross pedigree so he could be used in a lot of programs and not be too restricted from a pedigree standpoint. His mother, the 5273 cow, has been a long-time donor in the Millars program, producing a lot of high-selling sons throughout that program. She's a powerful, long-bodied, clean-fronted, with great rein. I really like this cow, and overall just a good, sound, honest cow that I think a lot of these bulls that are backed by do really well. And you've got to think, if Kelly Schaff is going to buy a bull, the maternal side is going to be right, and I really do think it's right on Duke 816. So we then look at the other part of Duke and look at the other functionality traits of this bull. He is a top 20% for scrotal and top 10% for heifer pregnancy. Big nuts, high fertility, tick. We then see top 15% for milk, and then we also see top 15% for carcass weight. Duke is a really soft, easy fleshing bull, and hence why we see top 5% for fats on his US EPDs, and I do think he's definitely a soft, slick-skinned bull that is going to bring a bit extra softness to the table. Overall, Duke has been performing really well in the US. His third set of sons have just sold at the Millars sale to be the highest selling sire group, where 33 sons averaged nearly 2,000 over the sale average. So that's nearly half the sale average, averaged 2 grand more than the actual sale average itself. The Duke sons have been exceptionally well received, and they're creating a lot of demand. Now the fact the bull's actually getting proven, and some of these data points are really being proven out. Duke's ability to consistently sire those low birth, high growth cattle that are really attractive, that have a lot of volume and capacity, has been really exciting. So you got to ask, well, what's the catch with a bull like this? Well, it's IMF and EMA. The bull's IMF and EMA is definitely lower where I'd expect a lot of people to probably take it. However, when you consider everything else what this bull brings to the table, that was really important for me, that he ticked all the other boxes: soundness, overall power, performance, the fact that these traits have been proven out. His docility continually gets better and better as more progeny come in. If you can justify reducing your EMA and IMF, and especially if you're not overly selecting for those two traits, Duke is definitely a bull I think you need to be looking at. We should have genomic EBVs here in Australia on this bull in the next couple of weeks, and we'll make them available when they do come out. Overall, have a good look at Duke. I think he's definitely one you need to be looking at. The next bull opposite Duke is So Right S48. So Right was the $190,000 selection out of last year's Knowla livestock sale, who also ended up being the second highest priced Angus bull sold in 2022. He's an alternative out of Wattletop Lockheed 111 daughter, where 8 alternatives averaged just under 50,000 in that sale. So the alternatives have been exceptionally well received. We've seen them just starting to come up for sale in other sales, and definitely we'll be watching them quite closely. But also want to point out now that alternative semen is no longer available. So here's an option for those that missed out on alternative. Here is a great option to move forward with S48. When you analyse S48's entire data package and the overall power and performance in this young calf, I really think he's really hard bull to miss. We see here a nice moderate growth pattern. He's got high days to calving, high scrotal, so big fertility data, then a massive EMA at 12, just over 12, and then we're also seeing nearly a 3.5 for IMF. A bull to have that much IMF and muscle shape and genuine thickness, I think is really unique. For me though, what I'm most excited about, and I realise maybe not everyone realises, is the cow power behind So Right is I think something that's quite exceptional. L21 is an exceptionally good young cow, but then we go to C16, V96, they're all being donors throughout the Knowla herd. Then L21 has a couple of donors herself in the donor pen at Knowla, but such a strong cow family, then backed in with shape, power and performance, I think is a really unique combination. Now, what you've got to know about So Right is he's definitely more of a moderate bull. So we get asked a lot, well, how big is he? And a lot of the answer is, are you talking big in frame or weight? Weight, he definitely ticks the boxes. Frame, you need to protect him a bit for it. He's not an excessively tall bull. He hovers around that frame 6, Give him some of your taller cows, thicken them up, moderate a bit. I reckon you're going to be on a winner. Have a good look at So Right. As we turn the page on to the next two bulls, we've got View Sam S13 and Sterling Confidence Plus 804. Both similar bulls, both bulls that we can go in and use on heifers, both give us that extra growth and then quite a balanced overall data set with strong carcass data, yet they still have their few differences and similarities that we'll go through. Sam was the bull we selected with Waitara and Crawford Angus. This is a bull that is a quarterback out of the Dream Cow family, and we really selected him that he brings that carcass and soundness of the quarterbacks with the overall maternal strength and power that we see with the Dream Cow family. When we analyse the data here, he's over a 6 for that calving ease direct, then a 3.6 to over a 150 for 600. Calving ease, moderate birth, high growth. Then we come in and see on the right hand side, he's over that 80 for carcass that we like to see, and then well and truly in the top 10% for IMF at that 4. Really quite happy with what Sam brings to the table from a data set perspective. When we then start to look at the maternal cow line in behind Sam, the P141 sold for $34,000 in the Premier Dispersal and was easily one of the lead young females in the sale at the time. Grand Dam G13 was then selected by Banquet Angus for $38,000, who was actually then the second high seller of the sale. And really look forward to what that cow is going to be able to do there for Banquet. She's been a donor when she was at Premier, and now she's obviously in the donor program at Banquet. We then go to the Great Grand Dam of Sam S13, Dream Y301, and Y301 really doesn't need an introduction here tonight. She's been a cornerstone dam for KO, Premier and Vermont, and has really cemented her placing in Angus history here in Australia. For us, Sam, he's a really soft, easy-doing bull. Note he's top 10% for claw and angle. He brings a hell of a lot of goodness here to the table. For us, he's a logical step forward from quarterback his sire that's going to add a lot of growth, softness, backed in by that maternal power and strength of the Dream Cow family with the soundness and carcass of the quarterbacks and a really easy heifer option package that I also think can be transferred onto cows. Look, if you're looking for a bull, for a quarterback son, if you missed the boat on quarterback, here's the son that you should be really looking at that I really think pushes the boundaries with what quarterback can do. On the other side of the page, then we move into Sterling Confidence Plus 804. Now, Confidence Plus has a little bit of a history, an interesting history with how he ended up here in the books. So, Confidence Plus actually came to my attention when he was the first bull to do all 3 at the Cinders Bull Test. So he was ranked #1 for ADG, he was ranked #1 for RFI, and #1 for feed conversion ratios on the Grow Safe testing system. So he came in and smashed all that. Then it just so happened the guys that bought the bull sent me an email and said, hey, would you be interested? We think he's pretty special. I basically said, yep, I'll come over and see him, I'll fly over. Then COVID happened and then didn't get to see the bull for about 2.5 years. So that obviously put the brakes on a fair bit, but what it actually has allowed is for his progeny to be kind of now proven and have the bull proven in the US before we get him. So we actually now know a lot more about 804 than we probably did 2.5 years ago. I've now seen 804 twice and really happy. I think he's got a great foot on him. I think this is a bull that probably potentially has been overlooked by some, but I actually think now he's getting the sort of usage and also the attention he deserves. When you look at the data set, it's a really balanced data. We've got high calving ease, low birth, good growth to nearly that 140, high docility, still at that 80 for carcass weight, high MA, positive fat, 2.5 for IMF, top 1% on the indexes. I actually think he may be the highest indexing bull in the entire catalogue offering. He's been a great choice for maiden heifers. I still think you can get in and get enough performance out of him to use on cows with nearly that 139 for 600. But when we then look at the maternal ability behind this bull, that to me is probably where this bull shines the most. I was super impressed with the udder quality on the 804 daughters when I saw them in the US in June. There was a hell of a lot to like about them. Then when we look here at the bull's cow family, Yes, he's an Isabel, but he sort of niches in a little bit differently to Y69. The T935 cow is actually Y69's mother, so we're getting that Isabel cow family without really getting into Y69 now. Well and truly nothing wrong there with Y69, though it does probably give you that little bit more mating flexibilities if you have used a lot of Y69 sons. Does still give you maybe potentially a few options there on daughters or granddaughters of those descendants. With Confidence Plus and Hoover Dam not being used much here in Australia as well, again gives us that little bit more mating flexibility here on the bull. Overall, I totally get it's a bit of an ugly picture of the bull. That's him in his work clothes. This bull works at very high elevation in some pretty rough country. The videos here of the bull I think probably show him off a bit better when he was just in a bit better condition. If you're looking for that overall balanced bull, here's a bull to look at. Now, I mentioned that we've been able to get a bit more proof coming in on this bull. There's a couple of things I wanted to mention about how his US data is changing. Now, before I do, I still would definitely recommend you use the bull on his Australian data. But just to mention where some of the data is shifting in the US, just so you've got a little bit of an idea. With progeny coming in now, he's actually gone to well and truly top 5% for residual average daily gain. So that's a measurement of their post-weaning gain, so an ADG, and it's actually a low recorded trait in the US, but this bull has had a lot of progeny recorded, so he's getting a bit of accuracy. So we're seeing fast, rapid gains of 804 coming straight out of weaning. They're growing, they're continuing to grow. There's now nearly 250 scans on the bull, and around that 20 or 30 odd carcasses have actually been graded and put in on 804 as well. And that's seen a dramatic shift in this bull's marbling. He's actually now top 10% marbling in the US, so it'll be very interesting to see how that translates out here. Still use the bull on his Australian data, sorry, but just note there is a fair bit of movement happening on his US data, and I promise you it's all for the positive. Turn the page here onto two pretty powerful, strong bulls here. Both have a lot of muscle shape, a lot of eye appeal, a lot of growth, and they bring a lot of strong attributes here to the table. We've got Musgrave Rob Roy and Connealy Way Maker. Two bulls we've identified out of the US to bring a lot of power, a lot of growth over here, and I think both bring some strong packages here to the table. We'll start off here with Musgrave Rob Roy. He's a goalkeeper out of a stunner daughter. Probably one of the most exciting young bulls Musgrave have bred. He blends really two great cow families, being the Primlass and the Isabel's EO30. The dam of goalkeeper EO30 is definitely one of the picked young females I've seen in the US, backed in by the 329 cow of Musgraves. Really unique mating of a lot of power, but also a lot of maternal ability. For me, when we look at the goalkeepers, for me, Rob Roy just adds that little more frame, little more bone, and just overall, just a bit more muscle shape for me. Really powerful young bull. He's been used really extensively at Musgraves. He bred about nearly well into the 40s, wet 2-year-olds. Those calves are now on the ground and they're looking quite good. Eagerly going to be watching them and just see how that birth weight comes in. Rob Roy definitely does bring a bit of birth weight, but he brings the birth weight with the growth. Note he's still in the top well and truly 5% for his growth traits in the US, top 5% docility, top 10% on his carcass weight, top, what are we here, 15% on his milk, and still brings in a top 25% IMF and top 15% EMA. Nicely positive fat. Really excited for what Rob Roy's going to be able to bring to the table. Muscle shape, power, still backed in by two very, very strong cow families in the Isabels and Primlasses. You know, really at the end of the day for me, Rob Roy, a larger framed, powerful version of his sire. Yeah, really have a good look at Rob Roy if you're looking for maybe potentially an outcross pedigree. Move to the other side of the page then with Connealy Way Maker. Way Maker was the highlight bull of the June trip last year. Saw the bull, had to find out more, went to Connealy's, saw progeny, saw the bull's mother, went back to see the bull again and was still really impressed, so he ended up in the catalogue, and we've got plenty of semen out here in Australia already. He's a Southern Charm son out of a big money daughter. Southern Charm probably didn't get the use he deserved here in Australia, saw a lot of use, around that 8,000 progeny registered in the US, and had a lot of success over there. He was also the top selling bull of the 2020 Connealy bull sale at 70,000. And overall, he brings a really balanced data set here to the table. He's a 5.3 for birth, then charges out that top 3% for 200, 400, then that mid 130s for 600, then punches along there with a 74 carcass weight over a 9 EMA, positive fat and a 2.8 IMF, top 10% on his indexes. Really balanced data set, a bull I think you can go in and use on cows, then put a lot of constitution back in a cattle, a lot of functionality. He's got muscle, thickness, length, softness, docility, great structured bull. I really think. Probably to me what stands out the most with Waymaker is his personal ratios and how he's performing there. So for those that don't understand ratios, ratios are measured as a level against the average. So 100 is the average, so a ratio of 110 would then equal 10% above the average. So let's have a look here. Waymaker ratioed 112 at weaning and 113 at yearling. Now they'd be considered big ratios. A big ratio would be around that 110 to 115. That's a big ratio. He then did a 102 for EMA, but then he did a whopping 157 for IMF. And that's at Connealy's. Remember, we're talking big contemporaries, big groups of cattle that are already known for their performance. Waymaker really smashed it out as an individual. The calves were well and truly a highlight of the calf crop there back in the summer. Really excited to see what Waymaker can do out here. He's an outcross pedigree, going to add a lot of performance, keep everything else in check. Have a good look at him, check him out. As we turn the page to 10 and 11, we find ourselves with Versatile and Rocky, two heifer options that bring a lot of multi-trait excellence here to the table. Bit of a centric focus here on marbling and end product merit. But here, really overall balanced bulls. And we'll start here with Versatile. Versatile's a forecaster out of the Blackbird AO30 cow. AO30 has been one of the most prolific donors through the Baldridge program. She's also the mother of Alternative and Command, who's also seen a lot of use here in Australia. Versatile went through their sale, he sold for $250,000. At the time, he was the highest scanning IMF bull at Baldridge, scanning an 8.2% at 12 months of age, which was obviously well and truly the highest in that contemporary. Versatile sold alongside a lot of his brothers. Those brothers averaged 64,000, and then another 10 sons of AO30 averaged just over 42,000. So he's quite a prolific bull to come out of a big flush, out of a really strong donor cow, and really ties it in together with a really balanced, strong data set. When you look at here, we see calving knees, 3.1 to 153, a nice, really nice spread of data, back to a nice 136 mature cow. He's got that nearly 20% there on his docility. He's over an 80 for carcass weight, which I like to see. Well and truly in top 10, and then a whopping 5.6 on his IMF, a big indexing bull. Really easy bull to use on a data set. Now I was at the Baldridge sale this year in 2023, and the sale actually started out here with a big offering here of Baldridge progeny, which these photos are. They came through and sold really well. So to give you a rundown there of that sale, there were in total 33 yearling sons of Versatile, average just over 8,600, which were headlined by the 19,000 Baldridge Kinetic K86. And then in some other sales here, I've got in the 2022 Brumfield Angus sale, a daughter of Versatile sold for 25,000, which was a half interest, which would give her a full valuation of 50,000. Then the top selling bull calf from the 2022 Diamond Dot Fall sale was also a $20,000 son of Versatile, and he led his 5 flush brothers to an average price of just over 11,000, and then another 13 Versatile sons sold in that sale to make the total Versatile sale group the highest averaging sale in that side group in that sale. So where the Versatiles have come through, they've been selling really well. Now, a lot of people ask me what's the easiest way to use Versatile and to understand Versatile. And there's 2 things I want to point out. First of all, he's about a frame 6.5, a little bit bigger than what we're probably expecting from the typical AO30 son with the likes of her other sons that have been used here in Australia. The influence there of Forecaster is giving us that bit extra frame, but the AO30 is giving us that extra power, muscle shape, and just overall rib shape. The other thing I want to point out is use the bull on his data, and I mean that by really analysing his whole data set. Maybe the downfalls that we see in his data set, I think, do translate with the bull. Probably potentially a little early to say that's how he's going to breed, but actually looking phenotypically at the bull, use the bull on the data. Where those holes are in his data, I think go ahead and protect him for it. Overall, Versatile still brings a lot of strong things to the table. To have a bull with that amount of growth, spread, carcass weight, IMF, eye appeal, backing with a strong cow family and pedigree that's been proven, we're going to see a lot more of Versatile to come now that his first calves are on the ground in Australia. We move across the page to what we consider basically the multi-trade extraordinaire that is Lawsons Rocky R4010. Rocky is a momentum out of a Judd daughter out of the Lawsons program. Now Rocky is still, to the time of this recording, the highest priced yearling bull ever sold in Australia across all breeds at $130,000, selling to Kelly's Angus, Gilman Dyke, Knowla and Dunoon. Rocky has a tremendous amount of sire appeal, overall presence. In my mind, he's got a really strong phenotype for sort of that level of data set. In my mind, I haven't been able to find a bull yet with that level of EMA, IMF, overall data package that still looks like a bull. Rocky was born 34 kilos, and I want to take note now of his birth weight. He's at a 2.5 at 96% accuracy. That's nearly on 200 calves. The calving ease reports that are coming in from Rocky have been really strong. They're born small, then they get up and grow. We've got some weaning weights that have come in that have been really quite impressive. Some have been well up into those 300 kilos at that 6.5 months of age. Then we've got some strong data coming in from some of our big commercial herds where Rocky's well and truly up there on the top sire groups in terms of weight, a couple kilos behind the top sire group in fact. So the early proof on Rocky is starting to come through. Use Rocky to add a lot of data into a program without sacrificing a big amount of phenotype. Use Rocky on the data, analyze the data, understand the strengths and weaknesses, and I think you're going to come out of it okay. High docility, great calving ease, a beautiful spread of data. And when you actually do a sort on Rocky's data, he's the only bull in the breed to have his level of calving ease, growth, fertility, and carcass data. He's really unmatched in terms of his data and phenotype. It was Rocky's mother that got us over the line on him. She's a magnificent young cow. Really think Rocky still has a lot to offer, especially for those guys wanting to inject a bit of data without losing a massive amount on their phenotype. As we turn the page here, we've got two really power performance orientated bulls, both backed in by strong maternal cow families. And overall, both bulls actually are very quite similar with both very similar data sets. If we start here with the Knowla Monty M186 bull, he's a high point out of a Lockyer E111 daughter. A bull that comes to the table here with a really strong, proven power data set. Note the level of accuracy here. He's all above a 90% on his 200, 400 and 600 day weights, pushing out to nearly a 160 on his 600. Monty's a big, powerful bull. You're probably going to need to use him on some of your more moderate females. A big bull to come in with a lot of punch, but also gets the fundamentals right. He's top 15% for milk. He's a high scrotal, high docility bull that comes in a really sound, complete package. Quite comfortable with the foot quality on both Monty and Pacific. But we also then come in and see pretty strong carcass data there, a whopping 98 on his carcass weight and a 3.1 IMF, nice fat data. Yes, he does probably limit us a little bit on EMA, but if you can handle that EMA and you're looking for a big, powerful bull with a lot of fleshing ability, Monty's your go-to. The reports we're getting now on the Monty females that are coming back through have been really strong. Certainly Monty's a bull that I think is going to potentially now tidy up some udders. We're seeing some really nice things coming through there on those young Monty females as the data's coming back. Overall, big, strong, powerful bull that's going to do a lot of good. Similar in the Sterling Pacific 904 bull. Again, a bull coming in here that won the Cinders 2020 bull test. Now recorded an ADG of a 1.92 kilos, 674 kilos at 12 months. Power and performance here again. Really happy with the foot quality on this bull when we inspected him here a couple of weeks ago and also back in June. I've seen a lot of progeny here. I really think Pacific is going to be able to fix up some feet there. We then see him, he's a Hoover no doubt never made it here to Australia unfortunately, but has seen a lot of successful use in the US. Then backed in out of Beast Mode's full sister, going back to Isabel Y69, and as we all know, Y69 hardly needs an introduction tonight to the Angus world. Overall, we then see a high docility here on Pacific, and I think that's going to be accurate. That's starting to come through now with a bit of proof. He's sitting in that top 3%. He's top 10% easy on his carcass weight and a 3 for IMF. Indexes out quite so nicely. Both bulls here, really power performance orientated, but also bring strong maternal things to the game. Now, I just want to highlight some recent sales here in the US where Pacific progeny have been selling. So Pacific has side the top selling bull at Kelser Angus at 26,000, Flesh Angus at 24.5, LJ's Angus at 21,000, and Apex Angus at 20,000. And now just recently they were the high selling sire group at T-Bone Angus, which is where the bull resides. So it's great to see the acceptance now on Pacific is starting to really come through in the US. He's a bull that's probably getting a fair bit more use now in the US that his first progeny are coming through. Yeah, if you're looking for that power performance, a little bit of proven now, especially on Monty, with the level of accuracy Monty now has, these are two bulls you can really have a good look at for power performance with added maternal value. We then turn the page onto here on page 14, and it's not necessarily a bull I want to talk to you about, but it's about a bit of a program that we're working on called Breeder Pro. Breeder Pro is all about providing commercially relevant, profitable genetics that are sort of proven here now within the Australian marketplace, all designed around increasing on-prem profits, but also focusing on also a whole supply chain kind of model. So it's basically a commercial pricing for bulls that can come in, we believe are going to be able to do a good job. They're reasonably priced and priced for volumes of semen as well. So if you are a commercial guy, this is definitely a program to look at. The bulls that fit the program are marked by the Breeder Pro logo, and leading into that, then that can roll us into Realist N278. Realist has been one of the bulls that's really headlined this program and has done probably the most out of it. We've sold a lot of semen commercially here on Realist, and I think Realist is probably just starting to hit his strap now. We've always said Realist is going to be a maternal bull. Now that his first daughters have just weaned their first calves, it's pretty easy to now see why we're seeing a fair big kickback again on Realist. They're good uddered, beautiful, feminine, refined, long-bodied females. Realist pedigree, it's really, it's not necessarily a Newick pedigree, but we got Reality, Elevator, E111, A241, some really proven staple bulls within the Angus breed. The Realist sons sold really well last spring up and down the east coast. They started at Booragul where they were 2,500 over the sale average, and then when they moved to Cascade with over half the offering Realist sons, and then to be nearly $1,000 on average over the overall sale average, I thought was really impressive, especially when you considered how many Realist sons were actually in that sale. So far we've seen really strong demand for those Realist sons, and I think we're going to see that continue. Realist, very functional bull, a bull that I think is going to still see a lot. Look at his data set, it's such a balanced data set. We got high calving ease, we then have low gestation, a 3.9 to a 127. Note the fertility data is nearly all in that top 30% for his days to calving and scrotal, high docility, nice carcass weight, beautiful fat data, balanced carcass data. Realist is a bull that we find really easy to recommend to our clients that are just looking for that really balanced, safe bull. We then turn the page onto page 16 and we're met here with Revolution R190. R190 is a nobleman's son, and after the success of Nobleman N127 we really wanted to go forward and find a nobleman's son that carried forward the same attributes of Nobleman but also probably excelled in a few more areas. Nobleman, he's out of a revenue daughter out of the designer cow family at Knowla, who also produced the likes of So Right. In fact, this bull actually goes back to the grandmother of So Right. So a lot of strong cow family in behind this bull. The M4 daughters are really strong. M4's turned out to be a really strong maternal and carcass sire. So we're seeing here a lot of great maternal and carcass attributes. Though when we analyse the data here, he's over a 10 for calving ease, over a 10, negative 10 for that gestation, then a 0.4 out to a pretty modest growth there at 111. And then we see a high milk, high scrotal, which doesn't always come through in the same package on the King line. High docility, very docile bull at a plus 44. Then a big EMA, very positive fat and high IMF. So if you're looking for that heifer bull that brings a lot of carcass, a lot of softness, high docility, a lot of functionality traits, good feet, good legs, Revolution is definitely going to be a bull to do that job for you. We then turn the page onto Quantum Q41 and Quinn Q209. If we start here with Quantum Q41, he's a drive out of an A2 daughter, a big, strong, upstanding bull. We're definitely seeing a little bit more of that growth coming from the bottom side with A2 there, but then we also see the carcass package we get from the drive and the overall momentum line. He is a bull that came to our attention off the back of his raw scan data, and then he was one of those earlier bulls that then genomicked really well, and now that's been supported by not only his raw data but also now by his progeny. The scan data coming in onto the Q41 has been really strong. We see that scan data has now pushed him into above a 10 and a 4 for that EMA and IMF, well and truly now on the top 10% for both those traits, on around that 20 to 25 progeny. So it's still early days, but it's nice to see the progeny are actually now pushing Q41 forward as well. The other thing I want to note here with Q41 is the accuracy around his docility. He's a plus 50 for docility, which is top 1%, and that's off the back of nearly 40 calves. Again, we're starting to see the proof in the progeny here with Q41. A bull in my mind that potentially has been overlooked just by some. Bull that you probably need to use on those smaller, stouter females. He is a 6'7", 6'8" framed bull, but brings a lot of carcass, moderate birth at a 3.6 to a 128, keeps mature cow in check, and overall then packs a really high end carcass merit. The mother here of Q41, the Oakgate E58 cow, has bred a lot of donors herself in the Knowla program. She's been a staple cow and lived to that 12 years of age. She's pictured here at 11 years of age. So overall, a really nice, attractive package you're going to get from Q41. I will also note for a bull that size and that big, he's a very free-moving, elegant, quite bull to watch in that motion. A bull that can really move. He's got a good front end, a lot of sire appeal. Definitely a bull that I think if you're looking to probably have that little extra growth and frame, and also be over a 10 for EMA, 4 for IMF, high docility. He's a really easy bull to use, and also note he's on those Breeder Pro prices as well for the commercial side of things. We then shoot across over here to Quinn Q209, and the first thing I say about Quinn is he's kind of our customer satisfaction bull. Our clients that have been using Quinn on their commercial operation are just coming back and buying more. We're going into Quinn on about, I think it's now his 3rd or 4th season. He started off as a young bull, now he's been proved through. He comes in on the Breeder Pro prices now as well, and he's just doing such a great job. I want to take note now of his data set here, because that to me is what's quite impressive. And if we do a sort on the Angus database, he's the only animal, let alone bull or HBR, the only animal that has his level of calving ease, gestation, low birth, high growth, fertility, and overall carcass merit. So he brings a really unique of really functional things together. So we see here nearly top 1% gestation, nearly a top 10% gestation, and a top 1% on the calving ease there. He's a 0.8 for birth, low birth, and out to a 130. But also note top 10% on his 200 and 400. If you're selling weaners out of the heifers, this is a bull that's going to have the extra punch there. Also then take note here of his days to calving. There's a really strong fertility trait that I think as time goes on we're going to see a lot more selection pressure for. He's a negative 6.8. That's over top 10%. Still over that 80 for carcass weight on that top 10%. Indexes out well. Really, really good bull to use over heifers. Sell them through as weaners. He's doing a great job. We're really quite happy to have Quinn here on the books. He's a black onyx out of a profit, out of an E7. Really proven pedigree. We know what it's going to do. The bull himself has a fantastic amount of muscling, a really strong top line, big, deep ribbed bull. He's got a 40 centimetre scrotal. The calves are born in that sort of 30 to 35 kilo range, so they get out, then they get out and grow. This data here now has progeny, has some accuracy around it, all in that mid 80% for accuracy. So, you know, this has been proved out, and that's what I like to see. You know, if you're looking for calving in short gestation, explosive growth, docility, high-end carcass merit with that level of fertility on his days to calving, then this is a bull you probably want to have a good look at. Now as we turn the page onto page 2021 here, we're faced with Hinman and Packer. The Glenoch Hinman H221 bull came to our attention out of his performance through the cohort, the Angus Australia benchmarking program. He was in cohort 7 and he performed really well in 3 key aspects that we sort of then went looking for. So we went looking for a bull that had really proven feed efficiency, proven high carcass weights and proven marble score. Hinman now comes into the catalogue here at the top 3% for his feed efficiency. Now I want to make note that that is off the back of progeny being recorded. Through the benchmarking, he's had progeny recorded, and now that is actually translated into more feed efficient animals. He's now at an 85 for carcass weight, which is well into now to the top 10%, and he's a whopping 5.3 for IMF. So he ticks those boxes in a big way, and that is how he came to our attention. And then it was when we started looking at the bull's overall performance. He brings a 3.1 to 126 on his 600, so he can be used safely on heifers and still gives us plenty of growth out the other end. It was then when we started looking at the mother side of this bull, looking at this D80 cow, the program daughter here. She has an average calving interval of 367 days, so she's functional, she's fertile, she does a great job there. That was off the back of 9 calves while she was still at Glenoch. Then the female was sold to the Hill family of Bulliac Angus, where she actually now stands as a staple donor within that program. And she's actually now a rising 15-year-old, still having natural calves. And I think that's pretty impressive. When you talk about longevity, here's a bull that was still working in a commercial Queensland operation till he was 9-10 years of age. Mother is still going as a rising 15-year-old. He well and truly has the runs on the board. Very proven pedigree, proven data set. We know what we get out of Hinman. He's been performing well. The sons have been selling well at both Glenoch and JK Cattle Company. They've been doing really good things. I will make note that a maternal grandson of Hinman is the JK Macahoo bull, that is the Reality son that's also done really well for Agrigene and has been breeding really well. If you talk about longevity, proven feed efficiency, have a good look at Hinman. He certainly has the runs on the board. Move over to the other side of the page and we run into Packer P130. Packer is a king son and he brings to the table probably what we haven't seen in many other king sons, and that's the added frame and growth. Packer's now proven out at a 5.2 to 142, so he's that top 10% on his 600 day. And that's the thing we really were then chasing with Packer as a king son, giving us that extra growth, coming out of the Panda family, going back to the old Y29 cow out of the complement daughter. He brings a lot of growth, performance, length here to the table. But impressively, he still then brings King's EMA and IMF here to the table. He's an 8.4 for EMA, 3.1 IMF, and still over that 80 for carcass at 86. Still then brings a strong days to calving there, high fertility, overall strong indexing bull. A bull that if you're going to breed some feeder steers, say for that Ranges Valley or that long fed feeder job, Packer's a bull that's going to be able to do that. He's going to bring the growth and then those really proven carcass attributes that Kings brings down on the table. He is also included in the Sire benchmarking program, and we're still seeing those progeny come through. They've just released here that he's a part of cohort 11 and he ranked 6th for 600 day weight. So it's nice to see that he's also now been proven as well in that cohort for that little extra growth that he brings as a king's son. We then turn the page onto the final spread of our Angus bulls. We've got King and Panic Switch here. King K306 has been such a staple bull within the stables for us. He's a Gatsby out of another Admiral A2 daughter, but it's really that overall carcass package and overall functionality that Kings brings to the table that still sees him here in the books as a rising 9-year-old bull that is going fit, healthy and very strong. I guess if you cast your eye back to the 2020 Knowla sale, the King Sons were the highest averaging sire group. They were up 25% on the averaging nearly 16,500. It's the overall sound-footed, good functionality, high docility, high carcass data that King brings to the table that our commercial clients just absolutely love. So we look here, he's a 15.5 for EMA at 92% accuracy. He's then a 5.1 IMF, top 3% at another 92% accuracy. High EMA, high IMF at high accuracies. Then I also want to point out, because he was a part of cohort 7 in the Angus sire benchmarking, a few of those carcasses were fully boned out to get our retail beef yields, and he performed very well in that, and now is top 3% on retail beef yield with progeny, so that is quite proven, nearly at 90% accuracy there as well. When you take into the consideration that EMA, retail beef yield, and the IMF, there's not one bull in the entire breed that can come close to him on that. And then cast your eye over to the structure data. He performs exceptionally well there. He's exceptionally good footed. Now, if we have a look at his cohort 7 results, I just want to point out here, first for MSA marble score, first for front feet claw angle, second for MSA index, second for carcass IMF, third for front feet claw set, third for coat type, 5th for raw scan IMF, and 7th for carcass EMA. He is so well proven in that he just makes him a really sound, really perfect bull for the commercially orientated cattleman. King is continuing to get the job done, and we love still seeing him here in the book and offering him to our clients. The last Angus bull we're going to talk about is Belvin Panic Switch 211. Panic Switch is a Canadian bull that we identified as a really elite phenotype bull in a moderate package that comes in with a calving ease option, low birth, really that faultless phenotype. He's been a long time breed leading sire in Canada that's been proving the test of time. His mother is what probably attracted us to the bull the most. The Blossom 1409 cow. She's had a really successful show year through Canada, but also is quite now a cornerstone dam within the Belvin program and has been doing a really good job producing other quite influential sires throughout the Belvin program. Really, at the end of the day, you're going to use Panic Switch to add phenotype, power, maternal strength, all in a heifer bull option package. Just note he is a little more moderate on that frame, around that 5.5. So definitely, if you're looking for that type of bull, Panic Switch is going to do that job. Final bull we're going to touch on is Golden Rod P39. Now, Golden Rod's a shorty bull out of the Sprys program that came to our attention when he was the top selling bull in their 2020 sale. Golden Rod has since then been used extensively through many programs in the shorty world, but also within the Sprys program, who has now sold top sellers for Sprys, but also had a big impact where he has been used and has done a really good job with people coming back again, using Golden Rod back over their cows and doing some flush work with him. He's an outcross pedigree, being by the Jungles bull that is Golden Rod, then out of M36, and now most people in the shorty world know who M36 is. She's been an amazing donor cow for Gerald at Sprys, but just such a seriously good cow that it's really that cow that got us on board with Golden Rod. That combination of his low birth, calving ease option for heifers with the amount of muscle shape and power the bull does, backed in by M36 with some serious maternal power and performance. Golden Rod is such an easy bull to use. To make note, they are Gerald is actually selling M36 in their sale coming up here on the 26th of April, so she's well and truly going to be a highlight of that sale, and we really look forward to watching her as she now becomes such a matron of the shorty breed. Note here, top 10% calving ease, top 5% on the birth, strong milk, strong growth data, high stayability, running in on that 15 round. He offers around that 10 to 15% for stayability, high docility, high carcass weight, still then punching out top 20 and top 30% on ribeye and yield grade. Now on the IGS system, they have their all-purpose index. He then banks in at a top 10% on that overall all-purpose index. Such an easy bull to go over and use on shorty females or on any Angus females for that crossbred program. Have a good look at Golden Rod. We're really excited to have him back in on the collection centre, back in the catalogue. Semen is available, so let us know how you're looking for Golden Rod. Have a good look at him. That sort of finalises the bull aspect for us through the catalogue, but there's still a few pages at the back of the book I sort of want to highlight. On page 28 and 29 here, both these pages here are progeny of the bulls, and we can all have pretty pictures of bulls in the catalogue, but at the end of the day, the proof's in the progeny, the proof's in the pudding, and I'm really proud of this progeny page. I really enjoy showcasing how these bulls are actually performing, putting out the progeny there, trying to keep up to date on what they're doing. Look, I really do refer a lot of people to this page when they ask me about a bull. Have a look at the pictures of the progeny, and hopefully having the pedigrees there will give you a little bit of an idea about how these bulls have been used and where they are working. We then flick a few pages over onto page 32 and 33. Now this is the page when someone rings me not exactly knowing what they want but necessarily knowing what traits they want to select for. This is my go-to. I love this page. I use this page nearly every day. We highlight the top bulls for each trait there. And I just want to point out, we also do focus on accuracy. I think accuracy is probably something that's not always spoken about enough with these breeding values. So the light blue here just indicates top 10%, and then the darker blue indicates top 10%, but also with an 85% or more for accuracy. So we can see those bulls coming in that are trait leaders, but also have the proof in the pudding, have that progeny on the ground that are proving those breeding values out. And we travel through to some QR codes with the price list, a few videos here of bulls that you can go forward to. May as well chuck up here the price list for our autumn 2023 here catalogue. These are all the updated prices. Realise a few bulls have price upon application for those commercial programs. If you are interested, let us know and we can do up a bit of a quote to get you an idea there. Turn the page over. Just wanted to throw in some pictures here of the US trip from June and the US trip here from January, February. Also threw in, I guess, where we are in the world with these pictures. It was great to catch up last January and February with a lot of people there to get boots on the ground. Had a bit more of a commercial aspect, going to a feedlot and getting in amongst some different herds we hadn't been to. It was a great trip through January. Thank you to everyone that hosted us on that. Thanks so much for joining us on your Sunday morning and watching through all the bulls. Hopefully you got something out of it, hopefully got some new information. If you have any further questions about the bulls or what you may have learnt tonight, please don't hesitate to get in touch. For those that know me well, I'm more than happy to talk about cows for hours. So yeah, if you want any extra things, want to know that little bit more, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Additionally, we will have some surveys go out after this and try and get a bit of feedback on what you thought of this morning's video and event, and even if you also did watch the event sort of about 10 days ago for the Wednesday evening event, and just try and understand how we can potentially do this better in the future, but also what more information you want to know. We really appreciate you joining us. Hopefully we haven't taken up too much of your Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Have a great week, and we'll hopefully all catch up soon. Cheers. Thanks, guys.